My parents always said family was the best investment. I thought it was a soft Sunday dinner line, something you say while passing the rolls. I didn't understand they meant it literally until they burned my future to bankroll my sister's illusion. A year later, when they showed up at my door with suitcases, they weren't looking for a hug. They were looking for someone to cover the debt. What they didn't expect was who would be standing behind me when I answered. My name is Avery. I'm 28, a financial analyst in San Diego, the kind of person who can smell a bad deal through a spreadsheet. My family still managed to sell me one for most of my life. The unspoken rule was simple. I was the foundation. My younger sister, Savannah, 22, was the façade. Savannah was creative. That meant expensive. Tutors, clothes, opportunities, endless do-overs. My mother loved to say, she just needs the right environment. My father loved to add, don't be jealous, Avery. You're strong. You'll be fine. In our house, strong meant doesn't ask. I paid my own way through college, drove a car that rattled like it wanted to quit, and learned how to smile when Savannah got handed what I earned. Then I found a townhouse. It was the opposite of Instagram, stained carpet, an exhausted kitchen, the faint smell of old cooking oil. But it sat in a great neighborhood, close to work, and the seller was leaving the country fast. He offered it 30% under market if I could move immediately. The catch came like a blade. $60,000 cash down payment. 48 hours. I had $30,000 saved. Half a parachute. So for the first time in my life, I asked my parents for help. Sunday dinner at their place looked like a showroom. Everything polished, nothing honest. My Uncle David was there that night, which made me think maybe the universe had a conscience. I brought a folder. Repayment plan, promissory note, charts, because I didn't know how to ask without proving I deserved to. I found a place, I said, trying to keep my voice from giving away how much it mattered. I'm short 30. I need a short-term loan. I'll pay interest. My mother stared at the folder like it was something sticky. Then she laughed, sharp, delighted, like my hope was a joke she'd been waiting to tell. My father leaned back, slow sip of beer, and delivered the sentence that snapped something in me clean in half. Get in line, Avery. The Mom and Dad Bank is sponsoring Savannah's internship in New York. That's her ticket. You'll figure it out. You always do. The room went quiet for one full beat. Even my uncle stopped chewing. I swallowed the burn in my throat and nodded like an obedient employee receiving bad news. Right, I said. Of course. I walked out with my folder pressed to my chest like a shield. In the driveway, my hands shook so badly I fumbled my keys. Then Uncle David's voice cut through the night. Avery, wait. He looked furious in a way no one ever allowed themselves to look at my parents. I can't give you money, he said, but I can introduce you to someone who respects numbers. Another lecture? I asked, bitter. Not a lecture, he said. A solution. His name is Anthony. We met Anthony the next morning in a cramped coffee shop that smelled like burnt espresso and ambition. Anthony didn't do small talk. He opened my folder, flipped through it, and started asking questions like he was interrogating a witness. HOA restrictions, title issues, renovation costs, my income, my debt, my savings history. The questions came fast, clean, unsympathetic, and somehow I trusted him more for it. You're short 30, he said. Yes. You have 36 hours now. Yes. He tapped my repayment schedule. You're offering 5%. I thought it was fair. He looked up. Fair is for bedtime stories. I do risk. My stomach tightened. So, no, I'll put in 30, he said. My lungs forgot how to work. But it's not a loan, he added. It's equity, 50-50. You live upstairs. I use the first floor as my West Coast office. We put everything in writing. You can buy me out later. We set the valuation method now. I stared at him. Half my dream for half the money. It felt brutal. But so did begging at my parents' table. What's the catch? I asked. The catch, he said, sliding a pen toward me, is you stop being sentimental. This is business. And I realized something that made my mouth go dry. My parents had treated me like business for years. They just called it family. So I signed. We closed on the 47th hour. When the confirmation hit my inbox, I sat in my car and laughed once, small, disbelieving, because I'd done it without them. I'd done it with a stranger who didn't pretend. The townhouse became a construction zone and a metaphor. Renovating with Anthony was like living inside a deadline. Dust coated everything, even my thoughts. We worked after my shifts, weekends, nights, the two of us in old t-shirts, hair tied back, hands raw. Sometimes it was almost peaceful. Just the sound of a drill, the ocean air slipping in through open windows, the steady proof that effort changes things. Other times it was brutal. A contractor tried to tack on a surprise fee, and I felt the old panic, my instinct to smooth it over, pay it, avoid conflict. Anthony didn't raise his voice. He didn't comfort me either. He simply pointed at the clause in the contract and said, "Here, read it out loud." I stared at the paper. My cheeks burned. "This says, no additional charges without written approval." "So?" he asked. So tell him," Anthony said. The contractor stood there, waiting for me to fold the way people expected. I felt my throat tighten. Then I remembered my father's casual cruelty. "You'll figure it out. You always do." I lifted my chin. "No," I told the contractor. "If you want more money, put it in writing and justify it. Otherwise, we follow the contract." The man blinked, annoyed, then backed off. When he left, I turned to Anthony, half shaking, half exhilarated. "You looked like you wanted to throw up," Anthony said. "I did." "And you didn't," he replied. "That's the point." Some nights we ate takeout on the bare floor, backs against freshly painted walls, the smell of primer still sharp. I'd catch myself talking about my parents like they were weather, unfair but unavoidable, and Anthony would go still, listening in a way that made me feel seen and exposed at the same time. "They don't even think they're doing it," I said once, picking at a noodle. "They genuinely believe Savannah deserves everything because she wants it loudly." Anthony's eyes flicked to my phone as it buzzed again with another photo from my mother. Savannah in a sleek dress. Savannah in a rooftop bar. My mother's caption, "Our girl is making moves." Anthony didn't comment on the picture. He only asked, "How's she paying for that?" I stared at the screen. "She isn't," I admitted. "Not really." Anthony's mouth tightened like he'd filed the information away. "Then someone is," he said, "and someone will get tired." By late summer, the townhouse was transforming, and so was my spine. I started saying no at work without apologizing. I stopped answering my mother's texts the second they turned into guilt traps. I learned the strange piece of not explaining myself. That piece didn't last. It never does when your family is used to having access. In early fall, my mother called again, and this time she didn't bother pretending it was about my well-being. "Avery," she said, voice thin and rushed, "we need to talk about something serious." My stomach tightened. "What happened?" A pause. The sound of her breathing, uneven. "Savannah had issues with her living situation. New York is expensive, you know. She had to pay for some repairs." "Repairs?" I repeated slowly. "It's nothing." My mother snapped too fast. "Just, people exaggerate. They see a young girl and they want to punish her." I felt cold spread through me. "Who is asking you for money?" Silence. Then my mother tried a softer tone, the one she used when she wanted to wrap me in obligation. "Sweetheart, we're in a tight spot. Your father and I covered what we could, but we might need you to help bridge the gap. Just temporarily." There it was again. Bridge the gap. Cover the shortfall. Be the foundation. "I'm not your bridge," I said. Her breath caught. "Excuse me." "I'm not taking out a loan," I continued, voice steady. "I'm not refinancing. I'm not paying for Savannah's lifestyle." My mother's voice sharpened. "So you're punishing your sister because you're jealous." I almost laughed. "If I wanted to punish Savannah, I'd let her meet reality alone. You keep blocking it." "You're so ungrateful," she hissed. "After everything you did for Savannah," I corrected. The line hit like a slap. She went silent, then said, very low, "Don't talk to me like that." I ended the call. My hands were trembling, but it wasn't fear this time. It was anger. Clean, bright anger that finally had somewhere to go. That night, Anthony found me in the kitchen staring at nothing. "You look like you swallowed glass," he said. "My mother called," I answered. He didn't ask for details. He just nodded once, like he already knew the shape of the problem. "I'm not letting them in," I said, more to myself than him. Anthony's eyes held mine. "Good," he said, "because if they can get inside your house, they'll get inside your head." My mother, meanwhile, texted me photos of Savannah in Manhattan like she was rubbing salt into my skin on purpose. Savannah posing in a sleek loft, champagne in hand. Savannah at some industry event, skyline behind her. My mother's captions were always the same flavor. Our girl is thriving. I didn't respond. I just watched the numbers in my head and wondered what kind of internship paid for that kind of life. Near the end of the year, Anthony started taking long calls late at night, pacing the downstairs office with his jaw tight. "Damage estimate is 97, I heard him say once. "No, we're not reducing it. They've been served." When I asked what it was, he said, "Tenant case back east. High-end rental trashed. Parents co-signed. Now they're hiding." A week later, my mother called with a voice that was too bright to be real. "So," she said, "how much is your townhouse worth now, with all your updates?" My grip tightened on the phone. "Why?" "Just curious," she chirped, then rushed. "You know it's smart to leverage assets, take out a loan, have flexibility." There it was, the hook sliding in. "I'm not discussing my finances," I said, and ended the call before her guilt could find its favorite doorway. The knock came exactly 1 year after I bought the townhouse. It wasn't gentle. It was urgent, heavy, insistent, like the door owed someone. I looked through the peephole and felt my stomach drop. Mom, Dad, Savannah, suitcases stacked around them like they'd moved their whole panic across the state line. My mother leaned close to the door and spoke loudly as if volume could force obedience. "Avery, open up. We need to talk, right now." My father's voice followed, rougher. "Don't do this. Just open the door." Savannah stared at the door like it might bite her. Mascara smudged under her eyes. No sparkle, no skyline. I didn't open it right away. I stood there with my hand on the knob, feeling the old version of me, the one trained to fix everything, begging for control. Then I felt the new version of me, the one who owned walls and had learned what no sounded like. I opened the door. My mother started talking immediately, words spilling out like she'd rehearsed them in the car. Thank God. "Okay, listen, we're in a situation. New York didn't work out. The internship environment was toxic. People were jealous. Savannah tried her best." She gestured toward the suitcases. "We had to come back. We need to stick together. Family rallies in hard times." My father stepped forward, gaze sweeping past me into the hallway like he was already choosing where to put their things. "Savannah can stay here," he said, "just until we get back on our feet." My mother smiled. The same practice smile that always came right before a demand. "You have the space, and you're stable now. You can help." Behind me, I heard footsteps. Calm, unhurried. I said evenly, "You can talk to my co-owner." They froze. Not a polite pause. A real freeze, like someone cut the power to their confidence. My mother's smile cracked. My father took a half step back. Savannah's eyes went wide and scared. Anthony stepped into view over my shoulder, a folder in his hand. My parents' faces drained of color so fast it was almost clinical. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. "No," she whispered, like denial was a spell. Anthony's voice was smooth. "Good evening," he said. "It's been difficult to reach you." My father tried to recover, chin lifting. "Who are you?" Anthony opened the folder. "I'm the managing partner of the firm that owns the Manhattan loft your daughter rented," he said, calm as a weather report. "And I'm the attorney on the judgment you've been ignoring." My mother blinked hard. "That loft, Savannah's internship—" "There was no internship," Anthony said, still calm. "There was a lease, and there was damage." Savannah made a small sound, half protest, half surrender. "It wasn't—" Anthony looked at her once. Not angry, final. "It was." He held out a document. Judgment notice, civil damages, repair costs, penalties, legal fees, total $97,000. My father's voice cracked. "We never got papers." "You did," Anthony said. "You ignored them. You avoided service. You thought consequences were optional." My mother grabbed my forearm, nails digging like she could anchor herself to me. "Avery, sweetheart, this is a misunderstanding. We're family. You can help us. You can refinance this place. It's worth more now. We'll pay you back. We will." There it was. Not a request to stay. A plan to camp in my house and wear me down until I signed my life away. I looked at my mother's hand on my arm, then up at her face and let the silence stretch long enough to hurt. "No," I said. My father's temper flashed. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic? I repeated, and my voice went sharp. You laughed when I asked for $30,000. You told me to get in line because you were funding Savannah's fantasy. My mother's eyes hardened. So you'll watch your own family suffer? I met her stare. I'll watch you face the bill you chose. Anthony's tone didn't change. A year ago, you refused to invest $30,000 into your older daughter's stable asset, he said. Now you owe me more than triple. If you want settlement discussions, contact my office. Do not contact Avery. My father finally took the paper, hands trembling as he read. The page didn't care about his pride. My mother's voice turned ugly with fear. This is cruel. Anthony's mouth barely moved. It's math. I stepped forward, filling the doorway. Savannah isn't staying here, I said. Neither are you. My father lifted his head, eyes bright with the old threat. You'll regret this. I surprised myself with a small, steady laugh. I regretted asking you for help. I'm done collecting regrets. Then I closed the door. Not a slam. A quiet click that sounded like a lock turning inside my chest. On the other side, my mother knocked and knocked, voice rising, pleading and cursing tangled together. I didn't answer. The townhouse held its breath with me. Anthony exhaled behind me. You okay? I walked into my renovated kitchen, the one they would have treated like an ATM if I'd let them, and leaned against the counter. I thought I'd feel guilty, I admitted. And? He asked. I listened. The old guilt tried to rise. Automatic, trained. But it didn't land. I feel free, I said. A month after the door, Anthony received a call downstairs and came up with the kind of expression he wore when a negotiation finally stopped being theater. They're selling, he said. Your case? I asked. Your parents' house, he replied. They want a settlement to avoid enforcement. They'll sign. I expected triumph. What I felt was a quiet, tired relief, like hearing a door latch after years of drafts. Will they hate me? I asked before I could stop myself. Anthony's gaze was steady. They'll hate whoever doesn't pay their bill, he said. Let them. You're not their wallet. The aftermath was messy, but it wasn't mine. My parents tried to bargain, then threaten, then perform heartbreak. Paperwork didn't care. Court didn't care. Their story about being good parents didn't matter once a judge saw signatures and ignored notices. They sold their big house to cover what they could and moved into a cramped apartment. Savannah got a barista job. The skyline vanished. So did the champagne. One morning, weeks later, I stood in my kitchen making coffee while sunlight poured across the counter like forgiveness I didn't ask for. Anthony sat at the table, reading emails, calm as ever. Do you miss them? He asked. I watched steam curl from my mug. I miss the idea of them, I said. The version that would have invested in me because I'm their daughter, not because they needed something. Anthony nodded once. Blood makes you related, I added softly, but behavior makes you family. He looked up. And your behavior? I thought of my parents' laughter at the dinner table, then the door closing, quiet and final. My behavior, I said, tasting the truth, was choosing myself. I took a sip of coffee. Warm. Real. Mine. Sometimes the moment your family refuses to invest in you is the best investment you ever make. It teaches you where love ends and leverage begins, and it forces you to build a life no one can repossess with guilt.